hard. It's hard to swallow because I think that the American people are actually going to be losing with all these people leaving.
Federal workers here in the West feeling angry and frustrated tonight as they fall victim to sweeping layoffs at the nation's health agencies. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. Those layoffs are part of President Trump's widespread cuts across the Department of Health and Human Services. KTVU's Greg Lee has more on the employees at the HHS offices in San Francisco who received unexpected layoff notices.
A somber mood at the Nancy Pelosi Federal Building in San Francisco. Throughout the day, people employed by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services packed up their things and left after receiving layoff notices.
We're committed public servants, so it's hard. It's hard to swallow because I think that the American people are actually going to be losing with all these people leaving.
The cuts, part of the Trump administration's major restructuring of HHS, including the firing of 10,000 federal employees. The department also said 10 regional offices would be reduced to 5. In a statement, former Speaker Pelosi said the San Francisco office, which employs 318 staff members, would soon shutter. She wrote, quote, "Make no mistake, the reported plans to restructure HHS and close the San Francisco regional office would directly harm our most vulnerable communities and make America sicker."
It's just very sad. This is a office that has a purpose that I really love and care about, and worried about the folks who benefit from this program, as well as my colleagues.
The employees at this office manage Medicare, Medicaid, and other federal health programs for California and other western states and 6 territories. The employees we spoke to all worked with children and families in poverty and worry what will happen to those services.
But we are nervous because we are kind of a little bit of a lifeline for them in terms of what we do to support them.
The cuts, part of President Trump and Elon Musk's plan to downsize government. In a statement released last week, HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said, in part, "We aren't just reducing bureaucratic sprawl, we are realigning the organization with its core mission and our new priorities in reversing the chronic disease epidemic." Pelosi said this could gut HIV/AIDS programs for low-income people, a major concern for the San Francisco AIDS Foundation.
We are concerned about the ability for HHS to coordinate services and programming without a local office that knows our city and the region. Any small change is a significant hit to us, and so a closure like this is an abrupt hit to our progress.
For these now ex-employees who abruptly lost their jobs, their message for the administration is simple.
I understand that there's a desire to, reduce the federal workforce, but this isn't the right way to do it. And it seems unnecessary and confusing for everybody.
What we saw in San Francisco played out at other regional offices across the country. Some employees are considering legal action, while Democrats, like former Speaker Pelosi, have vowed to fight back against the cuts. In the newsroom, Greg Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
California Attorney General Rob Bonta is leading a coalition of 23 states filing a lawsuit that aims to stop the Trump administration from cutting roughly $12 billion in public health funding for state and community health departments all across the country.
Today, our coalition has asked the court to immediately block the termination and allow states to retain access to these essential public health funds while our case proceeds.
Bonta says California stands to lose more than $972 million. The states are suing the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The Trump administration, though, argues these cuts are warranted since the funds were allocated during COVID and the pandemic is over. In Washington state, officials there say federal cuts and layoffs will have a severe impact.
We don't have people who are trying to figure out what the next best vaccine we need to provide is. We don't have people who can track worldwide epidemics and figure out when they're going to show up here so we can be ready.
Washington state says it stands to lose more than $159 million, adding that if the funding isn't restored, important local health programs are going to have to be dissolved. The other western states joining that lawsuit include Hawaii, Arizona, Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, and Oregon, along with California and Washington. Arizona's Attorney General Chris Mays makes the argument that the money at issue here was allocated by Congress and that the Trump administration doesn't have the legal authority to stop that funding. Other recent federal spending cuts are putting food banks in a really tough spot. Earlier this month, the U.S. Department of Agriculture announced $1 billion in cuts, including funding that supports local food programs. And now food banks in Utah are worrying about the potential impacts. Fox 13's Robin O'Guiney reports tonight.
The challenge that we're faced as organizations is the unknown. We don't know timelines, we don't know dollar amounts, we don't know programs for sure. So it's hard to plan when you think it's coming, but you're not quite sure.
A sentiment echoed throughout the country as farmers and food pantries alike brace for the possibility of doing more with less.
We are contemplating higher need, more recipients, a lot of first-time people coming to pantries who had never had to before. So it's our responsibility, and we're doing it right now, preparing strategically.
A true sign of the times as more families have made pantries a part of their lives, according to Utah Food Bank CEO Jeanette Bott. The funding on the chopping block is for the Local Food for Schools Cooperative Agreement and the Local Food Purchase Assistance Cooperative Agreement programs for 2025. The money was supposed to pay farmers to provide fresh food to schools and food banks.
We don't know ultimately what the impacts are going to be. What we do know is that they're going to be bad because they are cutting programs that are really essential for people to have access to fresh, affordable food.
Utahns Against Hunger's executive director mentions Congress's latest reconciliation bill that recommends a whopping $230 billion be deducted from the agricultural budget, which they've heard will largely come from the food stamp program. That would be another hit for families trying to put food on the table.
Our concern is there are lots of other programs across the state who are helping people with food. If those programs are cut or impacted, where are those people going to turn for assistance or food? They're going to come directly back to our pantries across the state.
She says so far there's no impact to the deliveries the food bank receives from USDA. Last year, the Utah Food Bank distributed 54.6 million meals through a statewide network of 270 partner agencies located in Utah's 29 counties. Partnerships that might have to work even harder to provide their services. Is there a way to fill the holes that might be left?
Well, that's a really good question. Like I said, we're not really sure what the impacts of these are. Obviously, those farm contracts that have been canceled or postponed or suspended. That would be produce and that would be meat that folks would get later on in the year. So I don't know what those organizations are doing to scramble, but it will be a scramble.
And that was Robin O'Guiney reporting for us tonight from Utah. We turn now to developing news we're following in Arizona tonight, where a school bus crash has sent several people to the hospital and also shut down a major freeway across the state. The crash happened along Interstate 10 in Marana, northwest of Tucson. Authorities say several students and chaperones were injured in this crash. They were from the Kingman School District in northwest Arizona. The district says those students were traveling to a future Business Leaders of America event when that bus rolled. Authorities are revealing new information tonight about an organized crime ring that's targeting trains as they move through Arizona. This investigation first began when 3 suspects were arrested, accused of robbing a train in northern Arizona back in January. Ultimately, authorities arrested more than 20 people over the last year involved in several different heists. The suspects are after a very specific type of cargo, Nike shoes. In that January heist, thieves stole more than 1,900 pairs of shoes, many of them unreleased Air Jordans.
Somebody's got some actionable intelligence to know that on that particular train car, on that particular set of train cars, a lot of those containers may have that particular brand in them. A lot of it is some inside information.
Conductors and engineers are worried they could get caught in the middle of one of these heists, and many of them are asking the railroad to put protocols in place for what they should do if their train is being robbed. In Oregon, lawmakers are considering a bill to ban flavored tobacco sales, all as part of an effort to curb teen vaping. Senate Bill 702 is expected to head to the Senate floor this week. Similar flavored tobacco bans were passed on the county level in 2021. In Washington and Multnomah counties, those flavored tobacco bans are now on hold, pending a ruling from the state Supreme Court. Smoke shop owners say they're worried this bill could be detrimental to business, but supporters of the bill say it's businesses like those that target young people.
I think the tobacco industry is purposely targeting youth because the younger you are when you start makes it more likely for you to remain a lifelong customer. I think that they are intentionally targeting youth in order to keep their sales up.
Robinson says she has seen an increasing problem of teens vaping and getting addicted to tobacco products. Along with the American Cancer Society, she's lobbying state lawmakers to pass the ban. Sponsors of the bill are hopeful it will pass based on a similar committee that it passed in the House back in 2023. In Los Angeles County, a sales tax increase took effect today. Voters approved this measure to help fund homeless services in the county. Fox 11's Mario Ramirez breaks down where people will likely be paying more.
The county estimates this sales tax hike will generate $1 billion each year to go towards homelessness services, but it means county residents will be footing the bill to pay for it. LA County voters approving Measure A back in November, adding a quarter-cent sales tax hike, increasing it from 9.5% to 9.75% with no end date until it's officially repealed by voters. About 60% of the money generated will go toward homelessness services. 36% will help start a new housing agency, and the rest will support prevention and affordable housing programs. The county says it'll continue to monitor the impacts of Measure A on local services and funding, while consumers are paying the price whether they voted for it or not.
We're not voting it in, but there obviously are people that are.
I think taxes are already super high, and I think it's just we've hit the threshold. We're over 10%. I mean, I'll start staying home. I'll start looking to purchase things elsewhere. It's just, poof, it's a lot.
I guess I wouldn't mind taxes so much if I knew they were being spent in the right places, right? That's a reality. I hate being taxed, and then you find out every 5 minutes the money is spent on stupid stuff.
Some cities that approved their own sales tax in combination with the county's Measure A are seeing an even bigger sales tax jump, like Lancaster, now up to 11.25% after approving a new 3/4-cent sales tax for public safety and infrastructure. Palmdale, Azusa, and Glendora also among those with the highest sales tax in the county. That sales tax increase impacting everything from groceries to car purchases. For instance, if your grocery bill is about $200 today, you're paying 50 cents more in sales tax than you were yesterday. In Manhattan Beach, I'm Mario Ramirez, Fox 11 News.
Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, consumers looking at other options as egg prices remain high, but now there's another wrinkle, a widespread recall affecting liquid egg products. We'll explain.
And in weather, here is a live camera in the San Francisco Bay Area looking out towards San Francisco. An unsettled day today with some showers and thunderstorms, but a nice evening, but still a bit blustery out there. We'll update the West Coast Wrap forecast coming up.
We have an update tonight on that wildfire we told you about last night that continues to burn in a remote area of eastern California. Crews are gaining ground on what's being called the Silver Fire. It's a few miles north of Bishop in Inyo County. It started late on Sunday and exploded in size. So far, more than 1,500 acres have burned, and the fire is now 50% contained tonight. Authorities, though, say the fire remains a threat to critical infrastructure in this area, and there are evacuation warnings that are still in place. The cause of the fire is under investigation. All right, for more on the conditions across the West, let's bring in meteorologist Mark Tamayo. And Mark, things have been very unsettled, but we're going to kind of see a calmer pattern here for the rest of the week.
Yeah, that's our thinking, Alex, as we head into Wednesday and beyond. But as you mentioned, a pretty active day today with some rain showers in Northern California, some thunderstorms, and out toward the Sierra. Look at all that snowfall piling up, and they have a winter storm warning that continues until 11 o'clock this evening, so they have the chain controls on both Interstate 80 and 50 off and on throughout the day. And as you can see, the totals adding up at some of these resorts in the Sierra. You can see Sugar Bowl up to 38 inches of snowfall over the past 7 days. Now up in Seattle, showing you lots of cloud cover. Temperature today at 51 degrees, 0.05 in terms of the rainfall over the past 24 hours. San Francisco picked up a little bit more at about 0.13, and some raindrops on the camera lens from earlier today, 56 degrees. No rainfall in this camera shot. You can see some clouds in the Phoenix area, although some clouds and showers have been drifting in over the past, at least approaching the region over the past few hours. Mid-70s today, as you can see the satellite and the radar perspective. You can see those showers actually drifting into parts of Arizona from today, so that camera was showing you some of the clouds out there. And then as you can pick out, once again, all the active weather in Northern California. Here's some of the coverage today up in the Pacific Northwest. Some clouds, some rain showers showing up here. And then in California from Eureka down toward Monterey Bay, we're showing you the green and even some thunderstorms. And then once again, out toward Arizona, there's clouds drifting in and some shower activity drifted in, at least developing, especially in portions of northern Arizona earlier today. Here's the plan for tomorrow. The chance of some rain for Seattle. Temperatures will be in the 50s. Clearing skies for San Francisco. Looks like a sun-cloud mix for Los Angeles and also out toward Phoenix. Denver, we're expecting partly sunny skies and temperatures in the 50s. So in terms of that rain chance, the highest chance will be up here, up in the Pacific Northwest. It looks like some rain showers could be developing somewhat in the portions of Southern California. So a chance for that portion of California. And also there is a chance once again in Arizona. Best chance would be, as you can see, kind of bisecting the state here for the northern half of the state with some rain and some snowfall showing up in the forecast. So here's the forecast over the next 3 days. There's that chance of some rain in Seattle for tomorrow. San Francisco will have more sunshine for Thursday and Friday. Maybe some showers for Denver by Thursday. You can see looks like a sun-cloud mix over the next few days for Los Angeles and also out toward the Phoenix area. Temperatures in Phoenix back up into the lower 70s by Thursday and Friday.
All right. Mark, thank you. As egg prices rise, more people are turning to alternatives, including liquid eggs. But now one company has voluntarily recalled thousands of containers of liquid eggs in coordination with the USDA. Fox's Duarte Geraldino has more tonight on what's behind the recall affecting several states here in the West.
With egg prices climbing thanks to the bird flu, more people are buying liquid eggs sold in cartons as whites, yolks, and whole eggs. They're usually pasteurized, which is supposed to make them safer to eat. But now, the USDA says some of those liquid eggs might be tainted with sodium hypochlorite, which is a chemical found in bleach. Yes, actual bleach.
As a gastroenterologist in New York City, you'd be surprised how many bleach ingestions I see.
Dr. Rabia De La Torre says a small one-time exposure likely is not harmful, but repeated exposure, that's another story.
When it comes to bleach ingestion, the concern is that you're actually damaging the lining of your gastrointestinal tract. And not only can that cause acute ulceration and damage to the esophagus specifically, but later down the road, you can increase your risk for squamous cell carcinoma and cancer.
In a statement to Fox 5, the USDA said, after reviewing the contents of the cleaning solution and how little of it made it into the final product, FSIS scientists concluded the risk to health is negligible. This recall, it affects certain cartons of egg beaters, cage-free, and Bob Evans Better Than Eggs, with use-by dates in 2025 and 2026. In a written statement, Cargill, the company behind the product, says, out of an abundance of caution and in coordination with the USDA, we voluntarily recalled about 212,000 pounds of liquid egg products. These liquid egg products were made March 12th and 13th. They were shipped to Ohio and Texas, but may have ended up in Arizona, California, Colorado, Florida, Illinois, and Iowa.
And that was Fox's Duarte Geraldino reporting tonight. A new report shows a proposed ban on vacation rentals in Maui would help to ease the housing shortage on the island, but would also shrink the economy. The county's mayor has proposed phasing out short-term rentals after the devastating wildfires back in 2023 that destroyed more than 3,000 housing units in Lahaina. The University of Hawaii study found visitor spending is likely to decline sharply. About a third of Maui visitors use vacation rentals. The Maui County Council may begin considering this bill in about 60 days or so. Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, a picturesque sight. Every year, the University of Washington's cherry blossoms, now in full bloom. We'll tell you the history of how they got there. Also, we told you about her when she became the youngest person to pass the bar exam. Now she's stepping into her first professional role. It is a yearly highlight in the Pacific Northwest. The University of Washington's cherry blossoms are now in peak bloom. As Fox 13's Abby Akone tells us tonight, the weather in Washington is helping the cherry blossoms hold up for just a little longer this year.
Now is the time to come out to the University of Washington. The beautiful cherry blossoms at the Quad have reached 100% of its peak bloom. And according to UW arborist Sarah Shores, the peak should last about 7 days depending on the weather. As for how the forecast this week will affect the bloom, sometimes showers can shorten the window of peak bloom. However, because the showers today will be so hit or miss and drier weather is predicted between Thursday and Saturday, the blossoms should hold up decently well. There are 140 cherry trees on UW's campus featuring about 25 species. These trees were transplanted in the 1960s, and before that, they were at the Arboretum since the 1930s. UW arborist Sarah Shores says the exact origin of the trees is unknown.
We don't know for certain where they came from, but we do know they were originally planted at the Arboretum in the 1930s, and the construction of the 520 bridge was about to demolish those trees. So they brought those trees over here in 1962, 61. And they planted them where they are today, and they've been there ever since.
These cherry blossom trees are nearing the end of their species' typical lifespan, as old as 90 years or more. Shore says UW has a plan for this moving forward.
As the trees start to get too old and too much of a hazard to stay, we will replace them one by one, so we'll always have a canopy of large cherry trees in the Quad.
If you can't make it to the campus over the next 7 days, there are other cherry tree species on the walkway between the fountain and Red Square. Those should peak the second week of April. Keep in mind that weekends and sunny days are the busiest times to visit. Thousands of people flock to this campus every spring to check it out. Hope you do the same. Reporting from UW, I'm Abby Akone, Fox 13 News.
Certainly looks beautiful. The youngest person to ever pass the California bar exam was sworn in as Tulare County's Deputy District Attorney in Central California. We covered this story last year when Sophia Park passed the bar at the age of 17 years and 8 months. She beat her own brother's record. He passed the bar at the age of 17 years and 11 months. Park started law school at the Northwestern California University School of Law at the age of 13 in 2020 and has worked as a Tulare County DA law clerk since 2024. Park, who is now 19 years old, called the promotion a privilege and promised to serve with integrity. Being sworn in here on Friday, she will be assigned to the Visalia Prosecution Division, and congratulations to her. Really remarkable accomplishment. A high school softball player in Idaho is combining her love of the game with a desire to help military service members. Daniela De La Rosa of Filer High School, just outside Twin Falls, is focusing her senior project on ending suicide among soldiers. She partnered with the J Foundation and the Idaho National Guard to raise money with a softball game. On Thursday, Filer High is hosting Sugar Salem High School for the game, and all funds raised from her project will benefit the nonprofit Stop Soldier Suicide. De La Rosa says the idea was inspired by the loss of her cousin, a Marine, who took their own life. And we wish her all the best in that effort. That does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. We appreciate you watching. Have a great night.